Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing on Thursday. What day is it, Joshua? Is it the
16th, I think,
16th of December? Yeah, all days sort of merge into one when you're working from home. But yeah, welcome everyone to this morning's Rangers briefing. I'm Derek Clark. I'm back after a couple of days off. It's great to be back and talking about another Rangers victory. Joshua Barrie alongside me. He was at Ibrox last night. Run-of-the-mill, routine, impressive victory again under Giovanni van Bronckhorst, Joshua.
Yeah, as you'd hope, I think when a team nearer the bottom of the league comes to Ibrox, Derek, a lot of control. Should have been more goals. But I think that the overriding factor is that the performance continues to provoke a lot of encouragement. Last night, which we'll get into, there was loads and loads of different encouraging factors, both individually in the way that Rangers approached the game. So, yeah, I think another good night for the 48,000, I think it was, packed in Ibrox. Was a really good attendance for a midweek game against St Johnstone, who are obviously coming from the bottom of the league. And, two more wins at home over the festive period, and you put yourself in a really nice position going to Parkhead and Pittodrie.
Yeah, a real good morning to CGM55 who gets in touch. And remember, folks, if you're watching us on YouTube, so many of you are, just hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss an episode when we go live. Okay, let's talk about that St Johnstone victory in detail. Joshua, Van Bronckhorst made one change from the team that beat Hearts at the weekend. Yanis Hadji coming in, which was perhaps a surprise to a number of people for Fashion Sakala. What did you make of the starting lineup? Was that a surprise for you?
Yeah, well, I'm seeing Stephen Cameron. Good morning to John, who is a regular listener. Just seen his name there, Derek. But I'm also just saying, Stephen Cameron asking, how do you feel our tactics worked against the back five, which I think comes into that Yanis Hadji conversation. And Van Bronckhorst said post-match when he was asked about that that was to do with the different style of game. A lot of the conversation, that's what my colour piece is focused on today, surrounds the differentiation and approach game upon game. And I thought our tactics worked well. I think that the struggling to find gaps is natural when you are playing in one half, and this is something that Rangers have seen a lot of. Both centre-backs weren't pressurised for the majority of that first half, which meant the Rangers' attacking unit were kind of outnumbered in the spaces and both against the numbers that they had to play into. But I thought what worked really well for me, Stephen, was a couple of things in that first half when it was more congested. The first thing was Glenn Kamara's first time balls out left to Ryan Kent. 3 times he did that in the first half, and that speed of move from side to side allowed Kent that little bit of space to go past Rooney 3 times. I also thought Alfredo Morelos was strong without being kind of particularly notable in the first half. Made a couple of nice runs off the shoulder. Joe Aribo and Yanis Hadji, for me, played in too similar a space at times in the first half, which I think kind of made it a little bit more rigid than it ought to be. But Aribo still a few moments come into the box. I wrote in my piece again this morning, Derek, that there's almost there's a preconception when he gets the ball that he'll move the team forward by however many yards, because he just technically is on a different scale, and he obviously hit the post as well. So I thought overall it worked pretty well. You've got to remember with these games, you're playing in congested spaces. It's a particular game where the opposition is happy to give up control and try and choose their moments. But because Van Bronckhorst has changed things, because he's changing things game upon game, I don't think that opponents are therefore able to script attacks and preempt what they're going to do to the same degree, which is what we've seen in the League Cup final, semi-final against Hibs when they did that. So for me, it was another real positive night from that point of view. Another couple of goals would have added the gloss, Derek, but you look at that performance and it was never in doubt, aside from a wee 10-minute period, which will happen at stages, won't it?
Yeah, we're going to talk about Joe Aribo shortly, Joshua, but interestingly, he was asked about being patient in his post-match interview with Rangers TV last night. And I mean, it took them almost till half-time to get that breakthrough, and St Johnstone likely were putting every man behind the ball and trying to make life difficult for Rangers. But I guess patience is key. You never felt that they were under any real pressure, did you? They never really created anything of any real note. And I mean, it's all about being patient against teams like this who will be stubborn and make life difficult. But they got that breakthrough, and it was easy street from then on in.
I think you look as well at something else that Van Bronckhorst said in his in his press conference, which I was at, which was you tire them out, if Rangers retain that tempo, if they drop the tempo at around 40 minutes and allow St Johnstone to ease into half time, then they perhaps undo some of their good work. But by retaining their tempo, and who did that? Calvin Bassey being aggressive and winning the ball back when he could have sat back and his team could have taken the pressure off, but they didn't, and in doing so, Rangers eventually get that goal, they get that corner because they have some space to hit in the first instance. So it's a case of being patient, I think, Derek, but I think it's a case of being really ruthless to retain the tempo, to not let St Johnstone out. And that's why players like Bassey are so good in this team, because of the energy that they provide from that position. So definitely a case of being patient, a case of the tactics working well with both Hadji and Morelos coming towards the ball, Aribo as well, Scott Arfield, Ryan Kent, they were always teetering to try and get in behind the St Johnstone line. I think that combination of both threats makes it much harder for St Johnstone to defend. And if you think about the 2-2 draw with Aberdeen, when you've got Morelos, Roof and Hadji in that front line, there's not really the variation of how that front three are going to hurt you. Last night, if you look at that Rangers attacking quintet, they could go around you, they could go over you, they could go through you. And that's what you want, I think, when you've got a team at home that's going to come in and sit as St Johnstone did.
Yeah, so many questions coming in the comments. Thank you for everyone interacting with the show as always. This is an interesting one from Alan Kelly. Joshua, do you think Bassey should stay centre back? For me, it's another. I mean, he wasn't tested a great deal last night, granted, but again, he just looks so comfortable there alongside Connor Goldson, who does deserve a bit of credit for talking them through games and things like that. But he just seemed to be getting better and better, and I do love his marauding runs, which we've seen a couple of times last night. I think being trained as a left back sort of helps it with that regard. And I think he's a right fans' favourite at the moment. And I don't think Leon Balogun, who have yet to see come back into the reckoning, is a shoe-in to come straight back into that side.
No, Connor Goldson for me has been excellent as well, Derek, and I think not only with his diagonal balls in behind, but also how does that second goal start? Connor Goldson really calm defending one-on-one with O'Halloran to take the ball back over his head, as opposed to clearing the ball out, kicking it away. He was a playmaker from the back last night, and that's only increased under Van Bronckhorst. For me, Bassey, yes, I think he should stay at centre back now. I think if you were to say in April last season, Derek, that Rangers defence would look ropey for the majority, obviously without the managerial change, but the majority of the season, and then would enjoy its best spell when Calvin Bassey went to centre back, I think everyone would have been really surprised. I think that's a complete testament to obviously Bassey's traits and the attributes he has, which make him able to play that role. His pace to run off the shoulder is really useful. But then for the first Rangers goal, we've just spoken about him stepping into midfield, being aggressive those first few yards, which allow him to prevent attacks before they happen. And also a testament to I think him maturing as a footballer. He looks calm on the ball against Hearts at the weekend in what is as we know, a difficult stadium to play in. I thought he was calm on the ball again. He obviously follows tactical instruction really well, and you can see that in the way that he circulates the ball with Goldson both times before Goldson unleashed those diagonals on Sunday. So for me, the manager said, I asked him about it, I think the days, as you say, I'll roll into one, but at a recent press conference, Derek, I asked him about that. And his response, it was Johnny that noticed this, the tone was almost, well, I've not seen him at left back, and he's been great at centre back. And I think that's sometimes what happens with young players as they wait to get a chance in the team. For me, I wouldn't be taking Calvin Bassey out of there, regardless of the centre-back options that come in the next game, because of how good Rangers have looked. And complete credit to him, because he's made that back line look a lot more secure than it has at points in the season.
Yeah, interesting point here. If Borna Barisic is out for Saturday, Patterson will start at left-back purely because Bassey's playing so well at centre-half. It only moved when Helander is back. That was an interesting one, Joshua, because of course Borna came off, but we were told that he was just feeling unwell. So you'd imagine, I mean, given the game on Saturday, it should be okay, you'd imagine. But would you have any qualms of Nathan Patterson coming in at left back?
No, not at all. I mean, I asked Van Bronckhorst about that, and he was quick to quick to say he just wasn't feeling well. Probably, presumably maybe the majority of football, tired, his energy levels dropped. He's played a lot of football recently, but I think it's not improbable, Derek, that over the next couple of home games you do see a little bit of rotation in these areas, because Barisic has obviously, I think, played every game under Van Bronckhorst, which is now 7 games in a row. So I wouldn't have any qualms about that whatsoever. I think you could, if you look at Rangers' build-up structure with Barisic tucking in, you could mirror that on the other side and have Tavernier tuck in and then allow Patterson to go high on the right. You could have Patterson cut in field and play as so many, top Spinazzola or Cancelo. There's loads and loads of examples of right-footed left back coming in and playing inside the field, especially when Rangers are playing one deep midfielder, because there's that space there to occupy. So I don't think that's overly a worry, but I guess the long-term future of the left back position, certainly cover, depending on what happens with Bassey, will be looked at and being looked at current, because I don't see I think Calvin Bassey prefers left back. That's what he said certainly a few weeks ago at a press conference, but I don't see any reason for moving him out of centre back, because I think he's looked as good, if not better, in that position since he's played there. So it'll be interesting to see what Ross Wilson and Van Bronckhorst do in that area.
Yeah, you sort of go along the lines with Stuart Melvin, who gets in touch. He feels that that's a complete left back, like Spinazzola for Italy and Roma. So good minds think alike there, Joshua. Right, let's not beat about the bush. Let's talk about Joe Aribo. Another man of the match performance last night for him. He's went up a level this season. I think there's no doubt about it. He just looks a level above where he's playing. And I mean, that control, when he controlled the ball from the sky last night, it was one of those wow moments where it just takes your breath away. I mean, it was almost Zinedine Zidane-esque. It was that good. He's just an incredible footballer, isn't he, Joshua?
Yeah, and right after he takes that ball at the sky, if you watch the clip on the Rangers Twitter this morning, he does a lovely little knock past Ali Crawford as well. So his speed of thinking is so impressive. But I think, again, Derek, the kind of class guns with Aribo, that's always been there. It's been a case of him as a player maturing, becoming more ruthless, and utilising all those aspects together. Van Bronckhorst said in his post-match press conference, he was sat next to Joe Aribo, something along the lines of, he's going to be the man of the match in a lot more games. And the irony almost is in it, Derek, that I think even before the managerial change, Joe Aribo was probably the best player in the squad up to that point. But he's, as you say, taking his game up another level. He's got more freedom on the pitch. He still has to do defensive work, and the shout that you always hear from the pitch at the moment is Goldson screaming at Joe Aribo to get back into the centre midfield. Such is he enjoying that freedom up the pitch. But because he's not, because he's got, like last night, for example, Hadji and Kent either side of him are tracking back into the midfield as well. That does allow him that little bit more attacking freedom. When Rangers get the ball, he's one of the chief attackers, never covering for a defensive player, and that wasn't necessarily the case last season. He was always more advanced, but he was still playing within that structure, wasn't he? So fantastic to see, and he'd command the big fee at the moment, certainly, but I don't see him going anywhere in January. He seems to just really be enjoying his football, and that's always good to see when a player is doing that. Glenn Kamara as well last night I thought was excellent. The manager actually said that he lost too many balls for his liking, and he did lose the ball that Liam Craig would die for it, that proposed penalty. But
yeah, what did you make of that? Because fair play to the referee having been strong enough to give him the booking for diving. Did it look clear where you were sat, Joshua?
I couldn't tell because it's one of those ones where, because Kamara was running back and behind him, you don't know if there's been contact. You don't know if it's one of these ones where they're presuming contact will follow. But I think if you watch it back, it's clear that Kamara hasn't clipped him. So it was a good call by the referee, and it's a good spot from that angle. But that aside from Kamara, although he did lose a few balls, I thought the way he speeds the play up from that deep position is so notable. As we've spoken about before, now you've got Ryan Jack, Stephen Davis, John Lundstram, and Glenn Kamara really for that one position. It looks in games like this, and that's maybe an area that will need to be addressed going forward as well, because as you and I know, Derek, 4 does not go into 1, and that's a lot of wages to to not be playing.
Yeah, let's just have a bit of fun. A lot of comments coming in about the sort of price tag on Joe Aribo, Joshua. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Rangers will make money on this guy, considering they took him off Charlton for peanuts, literally. He will at one day go down south, you'd imagine, to the English Premier League. James Tavernier, in his pre-match press conference, says you can see him in the big leagues performing, says he's an unbelievable player. There's no doubt about it. I think Rangers are very lucky to have him at the moment, and it's just a case of enjoy him while you can. But say, just playing devil's advocate, if bids were to arrive in January, what sort of ballpark figure would you be looking at if you're Ross Wilson? Oh, we seem to have lost Joshua there. We'll try and get him back. But a lot of comments coming in. Stuart Melvin says here 20 million. Oh, might have Joshua back. Are we there, Joshua?
Back now.
Yeah, we're back. You're back along with us.
My wife maybe unplugged the Wi-Fi or something.
Yeah, I need to put 50 pence in the meter, or you've just frozen again there. So hopefully you'll be back very shortly indeed. Malky says he hopes that Aribo stays at Ibrox, but I don't think we'll be able to hold on to him. He's so good. Stuart Melvin says 300k from Charlton or 6 Glenn Kamaras. We've got Joshua back. Joshua, are we there?
Sorry, Derek.
Oh, he's just popped out again. Ian Convery says £24 million, which seems reasonable considering the price at a midfielder. Certainly down south that are going for silly money, that's for sure. CGM 55 says he's a £25 million player. I think Rangers really will be looking at a figure there or thereabouts for Joe Aribo. He's been head and shoulders the best midfielder in Scotland this season. There's no doubt about it. Okay, folks, that'll do us there. We'll hopefully have Joshua back tomorrow morning. Thanks to everyone getting in touch as ever. Remember, if you've not already done so, if you're watching us on YouTube, just hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss a video when we go live. And also to subscribe to the Rangers Review site as well. So many great stuff on there, including Joshua's colour piece from the game last night. Very interesting, going into detail about the tactical details that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is implementing since he arrived at Ibrox. Just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and we'll be back again tomorrow.